Barron's hand, and Barron was just cold as ice. And he shook his hand, zero emotion, no anger, no, just literally cold as ice. Shook his hand, and then he leaned into Joe Biden's ear and he whispered something in his ear, and you literally saw the light leave Joe Biden's face. It literally was like the soul leaving the body. And then Barron just turned around, walked away. After a couple of steps, he looked back over his shoulder with just a death stare at Biden. I mean, this shit was cold. I want to know so badly what he said to Biden.
Well, hold on.
I know what he said. I'm going to eat your dog.
So sorry to disappoint you on this one, but I actually saw something where they showed a different camera angle and said he wasn't actually talking to Biden. Whatever he said was actually to Kamala. And that was just Biden being like, Weekend at Bernie's Biden. Like his facial expression changing was just him.
Yeah, he just moved his arm and all the blood rushed to his finger.
Nah, you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying that's what I saw. But I'm with you. Look,
the clips are amazing. I mean, Barron,
amazing.
When Elon was doing his autistic thing behind him, Barron was cold, stone, ice. Like,
oh yeah, when they show the
you
the
heard it here on
juxtaposition
Sherpa.
between
Barron's
the two.
gonna run the world, man. Barron,
yeah, but
6 foot. He's gonna be 7'7" by the time he gets to take office. But
he's still going.
He's still growing.
The best thing is the best part of the whole thing is sincerely excited Elon Musk. Like you don't get the really truly childlike, sincere enthusiasm of Elon Musk that often, but we saw it on full frontal.
You saw his autism
that
just
shit
rolling through, right? Just a nervous wreck, and
it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And you know what? If you want to talk about inclusive, that goofy bastard up on stage made so many people in America feel included. You know what I mean? There are so many people that were like, I feel like him. And that's a good thing. How are we going to pump those bags in 2025? That's the question.
Unicorn fart domains, right? Unicorn fart dust is the way. I can't see any other way.
I think, look, I don't personally, I am skeptical about taking the gloves off on AI and just letting it run rampant. I think that's probably a bad idea, but short term, it will be good for domains. I think that, for sure, the business environment is going to be good for domains. We are seeing it firsthand, literally VCs, investors, CEOs, founders, everybody's amped up and excited for, a business friendly environment in 2025 going forward. So I think that's all going to be domains. And
most importantly, Drew, you see an increase in demand for .ai names. Like, what about .ia, Drew? You see AI? You see some people wanting some of those. Are you changing your idea, your thoughts? Let's.
No, I mean, look, we have done a few .ai deals on behalf of clients, but I guess my whole point that consistently gets misinterpreted is it's nothing against AI. It's more of a broad stroke that if you're not .com, you're always in a handicapped position. Your brand is being diluted. There's always an opportunity for somebody else to usurp your brand recognition. And your brand is not as clean and clear and decisive as it could be, unless you lean into the whatever is to the right, whether it's AI, IO, that needs to be your name, right?
And there's a certain segment. There's a certain segment of the population that when they see your name AI, they're going to think it's nameai.com because they don't know that .ai exists.
Every time. Yep.
So you should know.
You're right. It's a segment of the population. But the point is all of these points. It doesn't matter if it's a 1% or a 10% or a 14%. It doesn't matter. It all adds up, and all you're doing is creating some level of confusion. That's a spectrum, okay? But you're creating some level of confusion, and more importantly, you're creating friction between you and the purpose of the domain name in the first place, which is to get your whatever it is, customer, investor, employee, whatever it is, to your website, or interacting with your email, or interacting with whatever it is, whether it's an advertisement, it's a billboard, it's word of mouth. You don't want any friction between the first point of contact with that, let's just call it customer for this sake of this conversation, since most of the people we're selling domains to are businesses. So you don't want any friction between your customer and the destination, which is your website or a response to your email or whatever way they are engaging with your brand. And everything but.com is creating some degree of friction. That just is what it is.
It's all good. All right. Well, with that, it's cool though. You guys got into it. That's good. Good job.
I mean,
all
it's literally this weekend was the most exciting weekend in a long time.
Lot that could be talked about.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think that to your point, Drew, that you kind of kicked off the whole thing about talking about Trump and the Trump coin, and then following up 24 hours later with the Melania coin, all that within 48 hours of the inauguration. I think the big disappointment for me, and I'm not the biggest fan of Trump, and and I do think that he obviously has put together a much better team and he had better people surrounding him this time, and I think that he's a better fit for president, right, this time around. And, and hopefully he will kind of enact the things that will be really good for the country overall. Like we all want to see the country win. My big thing from a crypto perspective is that, there's talk about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, as well as a few other kind of promises.
Yeah, I was short that from the first time people started talking about it.
There's going to be a Trump reserve.
Well, I think that's the thing that is Bitcoin. I'm more of a Bitcoin maxi than anything, right? I mean, I'll dabble in some shit coins. I mean, Drew's really obviously a Bitcoin maxi. I will dabble in some shit coin. I did pick up a little bit of Trump. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not willing to concede you as a Bitcoin maxi. You more like I don't know what to call you.
A Bitcoin tampon.
Yeah, I'm Bitcoin. I'm shitcoin curious. Bitcoin curious.
Bitcoin curious. 100%.
And so my whole thing though is I think that's the piece that I'm sort of probably the most sort of
that domain will get registered today. So when this releases, shitcoin curious.
People want to make money. People are gamblers. The whole world has turned into a giant. I can't turn on ESPN.
Well, when the money's broken, if the money's broken, then people want to gamble it.
Yeah.
Well, and once people get a taste, right? Or they hear other people's stories of success, because then you go on Twitter and social media and everyone's like, oh, look, I invested 2 SOL. That's now $1 million. Like, you can too. Here are my 10 steps of how I did it. It's just the amount of fucking noise and just crazy shit that all just fucking flows out of this shit. It's literally fucking nuts.
They don't understand that a 28%, like the stock market up 28%, like that's incredible growth. And my daughter's generation's like, yeah, 28%. Okay, I'll let me find something. Hear me?
My headset died.
Yeah, you just moved into the closet, but
you sound like a little echoey, but you're all right.
You're fine. You're no better than every other podcast, or worse.
It's weird without the headphones on, though.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even know you had ears anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh shit, that's what Drew looks like without headphones.
You just dropped 12 pounds.
He just got shorter. You're like, oh, I thought he was taller with those headphones on. He looked bigger and taller. His AKAs. Oh, he's here.
Oh,
Brayden. Oh, Brayden.
You
What's
guys
up,
are
man?
Still here?
Hey, look who that is. All right. Below me, we got my boy. Last but not least, the one and only Brayden Pollock, aka Tony Stark, aka Benjamin Button, aka Eat Bray Love, aka Braden Statham, aka Brayden Pollockton, the Archduke of Calabasas, now also the Viscount of Woodland Hills. And it's not that your domain is worthless, it's just that it's worth less. Yeah. So what's up, man? How are you doing, dude? And on a more serious note, because Shane made a couple like joking references to things being on fire and stuff. You're out there in LA, everything's been insane. That hasn't even settled down yet. And it already feels like it happened, like no joke, like a year ago. So are you guys out of the woods as far as like, I saw something saying that there was some concern that things were going to be kicking back up, and how are you doing?
Yeah, it seems to be okay. They were concerned about high winds yesterday and today, and there were a little bit of winds, but right now it's totally calm. Looking outside, there's not even a breeze. So the fires, they're still burning, but they're relatively contained. So they're not, they're not spreading into the homes. They've set up this containment line. That's what they've been working on. Instead of putting out the fire, they're just containing it so that eventually it's going to run out of fuel. But, big fire, I mean, the most expensive natural disaster in the history of the United States. Pacific Palisades gone. I have a lot of friends that lost their homes. A friend of mine that's in the industry, I won't mention his name because his business, but he lost his home. It's been a disaster. A lot of people without power and evacuated. And I've had people that stayed at my house for a minute, and yeah, it's been crazy. I had an evacuation line like 2 or 3 miles in one direction and another one 2 or 3 miles in the other direction because there was 2 fires kind of closing in on me. But I didn't have to evacuate. Luckily, it got handled.
Did the home that we visited, Brayden, remember on the beach where we sat? Did that survive or did that burn?
That did not burn.
Yeah, it was.
She got lucky. I mean, she got evacuated, but her other house in the Palisades, but down at PCH, and both of them survived.
Wow.
My former mother-in-law talking about. Yeah, it was crazy for men. I mean, still, a lot of people suffered, but I made it through unscathed. So,
well, good for you, man. And I'm sorry. Obviously, we talked about that in the last show. It's just, at that point, everything was still pretty raw and kind of still in the middle of everything. So it was a lot more prevalent. Now it's like, you forget it that it even, if you're not there, it's easy to move on because the next thing is that much crazier and there's just so much going on. And it really is pretty wild how quickly. Again, that feels like that was forever ago and you guys are still, dealing with it. So, I mean, and I know who you're talking about as far as who was impacted with their house and, bad things happening to good people, man, all over the place. And anyway, so, not to go there, but, just to let you know, obviously we've been thinking about you. We're checking in on you and, others and, throughout the thing. And
yeah, I got a lot of people reached out to me from the community and check on me. So thank you everyone for checking on me. Much appreciated.
In that position, so I'm just gonna hate on you. You know what I mean? And
and fear of death and fear. There's so many psychological variables that are involved in that.
Yeah. Oh, show. All right. So great. Domain game. What do you think?
Yeah, the domain game. Let's go.
All right, let's get it, Drew. You start us off, man. What do you got? You got to buy. You got to sell.
I'm gonna go with what am I going to go with? I'm going to go with Brayden. Do you already know more or less what Timberwolf.com was?
Nope.
It wasn't offered to you? Okay. All right. We'll go with Timberwolf.com.
All right. I'm out on this. This is just Shane and Brayden. Timberwolf.com. Timberwolf.com.
It sounds familiar, but I don't have any idea.
Okay.
He's going to get like within $5.
You bought it, right?
So.
Yeah. Sorry. It's a buy. Yeah.
This was a purchase. Timberwolf. Just one Kevin Garnett in this mother.
Yeah.
One Ant Edwards.
It's the only Timberwolf we know.
Dude, what are you talking about, man? Yeah, we watch some NBA, but you got Ant Edwards, dude. He's an Ant-Man. And then now they got my boy Dante DiVincenzo. They got Julius Randle. They got shout out to Nova, although we lost to Georgetown last night and nonsense, a game that never should have lost.
You're just mumbling some random shit right now. You know that.
He's excited. He said NBA. He gets more excited.
He gets them to watch away when we're actually talking about like meaningful things. This guy's gonna start rattling off a bunch of players on a team that nobody cares about. It's like a professional sports team. This is what I was just telling him. It's like, how can an adult grown ass man let their life get tied up in some other grown ass man's life of playing sports? It's like,
yeah. We're also, we just started playing the domain game. You started it, and then you went off on a tangent.
I just was mentioning something related while you guys were taking fucking forever to come up with
cares.
Okay. All right. Phones up. Let's move this along.
Go Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Damn, y'all making me feel terrible with this shit. Who did we have on last week that I said made me feel so much better?
Josh.
No, it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I was really bidding up your stuff. You look like.
Well, hey, for those of you who are only listening and not watching, Shane's at $12,000 and Brayden is at $25,000.
It's obviously Brayden has won.
No, I paid 40, and it was.
I didn't buy it.
Well, and it was a little higher than but it's okay. So first off, that's a really cool animal. Okay. And it's very difficult to get a singular version of an animal name, especially a semi mainstream, well-known animal. And there are a ton of end users for Timberwolf. So I was pretty happy with it. It's been a while since I got a real bang on, singular animal name. And I really like them with some of my favorite names. So I was pretty happy with it. But yeah, I mean, look, would I have been happier 25, 30? Yeah, that's where I wanted to be. But 12,000, you only did for you and all.
Here's the problem: is
Shane got on that time machine. Shane got on Donald Trump's time machine.
I'll be on the negative. Like, to me, it's not. To me, it's Timberwolf or Gray Wolf, or it's not a one word. To me, it's an adjective and a wolf. 2, if I'm a brand, I'm competing against Minnesota Timberwolves on everything I ever do, right?
No, because they're plural.
Yeah, but that's what you think of the United States. If I build it, if I ask 90 people in the United States Timberwolf, the first thing they're going to say is a basketball team. And when I'm creating a brand, I don't want to compete that hard, that quick. So that's just my feeling. That's why I thought is when you're competing against somebody that's built a huge brand, you're already facing headwinds out of the gate.
Yeah.
So that's my thought. That's the only reason I said that. So I hate to be negative. I think that's how I think of it. I don't think as a oneword.com.
10x more, or 100x more.
Which one's 100? Eris spelled
ARIS is worth 10x. Eris.
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Ready?
we're on the same page. Yep. 3, 2, 1, flip. All right. So Brayden's got 400. Drew has 1288, and I've got 4,500.
Yep. I paid $150 for it.
Brayden, man.
You know what? What I originally put in was 133. That's when I thought it was Eris.
Yeah, I went high. I went like end user price. Well, kind of end user pricing. XYZs are doing their thing.
Yeah, dude. That was end user.
Yeah.
Big time.
So, but
it wasn't a sell. It was a lot.
I'm going to do a lot better than you think on that.
Already. Oh no, Reese, that's a killer purchase. That's a great. I got a
$4,000 offer in the first week.
Yeah, no, that's a great name. Totally.
For 150, yeah. I mean, it's all relative, right? Like you like to make the $100,000 ones, but there's money in getting dozens of these good value names.
Oh, 100%, man. You always make money on the buy. We say it on the show literally every day. Where did you buy it?
Further than that is literally, this is precisely the point that I've been trying to emphasize about the contrast between, my strategy and many others versus like an Andy Booth strategy, which, he's throwing big money at a small number of domains. His return in a best case scenario is probably at 2 or 3x in a best case scenario. And in my opinion, most of those names will probably never get their money out of them at full value, especially on an inflation adjusted basis. But, and I don't say that with any ill will or intent at all. I just think it's an important contrast for people to understand, especially since, the point of this show is to try to grow the pie. And I really don't think it's good for people to be coming into the industry and thinking, oh, .ai is the hot shit. Let me go spend 10 grand buying a .ai that I'm going to eventually sell for 4. So, some feisty dermatologist wants to have a fancy email. Hold on. Give me a second.
This was a sale.
All right. No, hold on. I should always go with the first instinct, but I'm going to change it up here. Whoops.
I was going to make Drew say that 300 grand.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay. I'm at $14,999. Shane's at $27,500, and Drew is at 29.
I was at 23, and then I went up.
29,369.
JT gets it. Final sale, 14,000.
14. Oh, yeah. 14,999. That's what's up. I almost put 14.
It was listed at 20. That's what I wanted for it. And somebody came through it it's through after Nick. Somebody came through it, I don't know, 7 or 10 or something like that. We went back and forth, and their best and final was 14. And I was like, let's just do it. It was like a 10.5 month hold. So it was pretty quick. I bought it I bought it last January. I sold it last month. So 11 months, less than 11 months. I paid $1,500 for it. So, you know, I figured
10x that you like.
You know, how much longer am I going to wait to go from 14 to 20?
Yeah.
You know, name like German.
What was my rule of thumb? Remember, I gave you the rule of thumb. I said, this is how much below the price. It can't be more.
Don't ask him that question. Ask who's on the bench for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, see, this is a freaking problem. This is the problem.
Bro,
He could rattle off every freaking player on every goddamn team. None of them make any difference in his life. But I asked him, like, what is my fundamental freaking rule of thumb for making decisions on the domain names that we own? That just happens to be our freaking business, of which you are the COO. And Mugware is like, what you talking about?
Sorry about that, JT. I owe you one.
Because he was busy looking at his fantasy football lineup right now.
Timeout. Fantasy football's over.
No, stop the timeout. Give us some explanation.
Your rule of thumb. So the rule of thumb on selling a name or on buying it?
Yeah. When an offer comes in below the asking price, we have a rule of thumb.
Yeah, once we get to best and final, I think usually you're saying, like, look, am I going to see a 5x on this in the next 5 years? If not, then we're better off selling because, we can invest in Bitcoin or something that truly we think, will also have the opportunity to provide that kind of return on the money.
I think that's the right answer. I'm going to say that's the right answer.
If you think you're going to get 20% more, but it's going to take you several years to get there, sell.
And we actually don't even say 20% more. I mean, we're more on, like, again, 2 to 5.
I don't think the 5x was. I think it was a 2x, wasn't it?
Fair enough. 2x. So are we going to see a 2 once we get to best and final? Are we going to see a 2x in the next 5 years? And the answer, if the answer is no, then let's take the cash and put the cash to work.
The thing about domains, right? Like I think we were doing a space with Michael Law, and I thought he laid it out really well. To be a domain investor, you have to be very disciplined in your life and your domains, right? Because you can sit behind a computer and just turn to nothing, because that's what we do for a living. Sell a domain. You don't have to do anything all week, right? I'm just throwing out a number. You make $5,000 in a week, 10 grand in a week, and you can just sit there trying to find the next domain, sitting behind a computer. You got to take care of your shit. Like, my health diminished moving from the nursery to become a domain investor full time. I just got destroyed. You have to have discipline. You have to go work out. You have to leave the computer. You have to move. You have to eat healthy. You have to, like, that's an important part of the domain investing, because you're going to be a very good friend,
a mutual. We all know one of the very famous domain investors.
Good friend of Brayden's as well.
And I was just talking to him about just health and there's just a lot of things that really we should do a show on it one time. But there is just things that you need to do. If you spend your time in front of a computer, you probably should be wearing these. You probably should be making sure you get out in the sunlight in the morning. You should probably be, making sure you get up and do your exercise and do your stretching, and probably stand up every 30 minutes or an hour and make sure you get moving for 5 minutes. But, it's just, otherwise we are going to pay the ultimate price.
Your kids are going to get your domains really quick.
Yeah, I'm not letting those little bastards have it.
They're not ready. Yeah, and I've got Brayden's. His whole estate's going to me, which I thank you so much, Brayden. I appreciate that. That was very kind of you. One good romantic week with Brayden, and all of a sudden I inherit everything. It's crazy.
All good. But that is the domain game. Brayden won it. Let's slide into name check and a jet. We've got about guys, like 10, 15 minutes.
Negative
total.
10 minutes.
Exactly. All right. So we've got the list. Let me know if anybody needs it. And, we're about to, I think by now everybody knows the deal, but you can go to DomainSherpa to this particular episode, download the spreadsheet so you can see we've got the domains, the S about appraisal, how many back orders is the time we record the show, when the order by date is, and all that good stuff.
No, we're an hour and a half in. Everybody's gone. They fell asleep or they moved on with their day.
Break this show into
AI and
2 parts.
break this into clips, right?
2 shows. Let me do another intro.
Let's just rock. Let's just roll right into it. Come on.
All right, go ahead, Shane. You first.
Let's start with the Fool, because it's the name and we talked about it. I will say that you're not going to be able to do anything financial with it because Motley Fool has pretty much trademarked the shit out of that whole category.
Mhm.
So I would definitely, I think that limits it a little bit, but the Fool is a pretty good name. If you get it for a couple thousand, I think you've done okay on that one. The one that was interesting, I've looked at it because I work with NameJet and I go to the list, is restless legs. Is restless leg syndrome, remember how that was like, they sold all those drugs and all those categories. I don't know if that's still a big thing, but
I don't know.
it used to be, right?
I think that kind of thing just, it's not really a trend.
Yeah. Yeah.
People's legs have calmed down.
We've cured that. Bryan Johnson has cured the restless leg part of it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't, but I do think that that's an interesting, and it's the second highest estimat, meaning there has to be some data behind it as well to get us there. And we'll do the same thing with mesothelioma. Mesotherapy probably has a really high cost per click based on that number. And I don't know that market very well, but I think people that do know that market will probably bid that name up because I think people that have conquered have really crushing it in that category. So I think that goes for mesotherapy goes for 4 or 5
most
grand.
of those names, those are they'll go into the legal. That's legal legion. And mesotherapy is not legal. So it's a different vertical. Just FYI.
I don't know. Okay, we'll keep moving. We can talk forever. And then I like names like Blue Hand. Like it doesn't mean anything. It's an open vessel. I just think all I see is an easy logo. And I like names like that in my portfolio. Those are the names that I talk about where if I can pick that up for $700 to $1,000, I'll throw it in my portfolio all day. So I'll kind of leave it at that.
All right. Brayden?
Yeah, I'd rather have blue hand than blue balls. I just can't say it.
Okay.
Well,
played.
if you have that, you won't have the other. So
all right.
Let's see who can hold the on longer. I bet you I win.
That's like some shit you tell your kids, like, hey, we're gonna play who can be the quietest the longest. You know what I'm saying? Like in a car ride.
No, I can hold that. I can hold that ohm for a long.
We could get rid of the last two people if we play that.
We'll shake everybody loose.
It's like when we went to Joe Rogan's comedy club and that last dude he was so bad that we were like, no, come on, this dude's so bad because he's trying to get us out of here. Like,
that's what it was. That was his act. It had to be. He just wanted literally everybody to leave.
That was the most brutal hour that I've spent in the last 5 years. Is that guy with his phone like this? How about this one? I'm drunk.
God, it was so bad.
What do you think?
But we saw some really funny dudes that night. That was really. There were some really funny people.
Yeah, we saw Ari Matty, man. Right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Hold on.
What was it? The Croatian or the?
He's actually he's Estonian.
Yeah, he's Estonian.
And Ari Matty, and he is fucking hilarious.
Oh my God.
We saw him like he was special.
I peed my pants just a little bit. I peed my pants just a little bit during.
He was so good. He was awesome. The whole experience was really great until the last guy.
He really did. That guy had me folded in half. It was good.
So. I will say that, guys. Like hopefully in ICA or other events when we get together. That night was one of my most fun nights of the whole year. Like just getting together with you guys, a good meal, so many laughs, and then going to comic club. That was legit.
And we were pretty properly warmed up when we went to the comedy club.
No, that's those are the moments that I like. Those are my favorite domain. I like selling a domain name, but that night was pretty fucking funny. Like it was.
Yeah, well, he's been on Joe Rogan and stuff, and
he's got I listened to his podcast.
Kill Tony and stuff. Like he's legit, and he was so funny that night. You could tell, like he was the best. Like he was so good. Yeah, and that was a blast. But then the last guy literally was on some Andy Kaufman performance art shit, where he was like, literally wanted everyone to leave. Like I think that was the intent, and he was just like. Oh man, it got so brutal, and it was like we got to get the fuck out of here. This is like, and we're like, yo, where's the check? Like, give me my phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we were out. But yeah, that was a great night.